Hi, I'm Mitchell Dale, and this is Rugby League Week TV. I'm joined on the couch today by Martin Lenihan, Brian Smith. We're here to talk about Origin Game 2. It's shaping up as an almighty clash, isn't it, Brian?
Been here before. Don't fall into it, New South Wales. You're going to hear so much garbage in the next few days. It's just going to be, oh me, oh my, will we even have enough players? Are there enough Queenslanders to field 17? It'll just be, and then they'll come out like gorillas.
Yes, will Scott Sattler be back? Will Alfie Langer be back? Yes, it's very dangerous, I guess, for New South Wales, the mindset at the moment. They should be confident. They played so well in the first game and they've had a much smoother run leading into the game, but Queensland will play on all that and they'll be hoping that New South Wales get complacent.
Yeah, I think this is a real test for Laurie Daly as well, and he even admitted during the week that last year he probably did get a little bit complacent, not overly complacent, but just a little bit after winning that first game. He's adamant that he's learnt from his mistakes. A lot of it does come down to him. He'll have to set the tone throughout the week.
No doubt, but you know, he's got some very experienced guys around him in the New South Wales team, and surely no one will fall for that stuff. You know, they've already got into that mode in the early part of the week with naming a 22-man squad, you know, as if they're all over the place and they don't really know what they're going to do. But, you know,
they would know what they're going to do.
They'll know exactly what they're going to do.
Now, we caught up with Josh Dugan, one of the few new inclusions for the New South Wales side. Caught up with him this week, talking about his redemption and how he's matured as a player.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to think that I've matured. You know, I've learned a lot over the last sort of, 18 months, being sacked from Canberra and then, back in Origin, and then this year missing out on Origin 1. It's all been a learning curve, and I'd like to think I've definitely matured on and off the field. Yeah, definitely. And as I said, I was sort of young and still learning about myself, and I wasn't in the right space at that time, and I paid the price for it. But I've been given a second chance, and I've definitely grabbed it with both hands.
Yeah, look, I think this is a really interesting one, Brian. What's the biggest challenge that Josh Dugan's going to face on the field as a natural fullback? He's played a little bit of centre, but not a lot. What's his biggest challenge going to be?
Well, I think that the technicalities of playing right centre in a pressure cooker situation, in his favoured position, it's a massive deal to go there and do it. And he's, to be fair, he's done the experience, at least, to take that as some confidence building, but gee, he did some great things the other night against the Sharks, but at one stage there, Wade Graham just made him look a bit ordinary, and Wade Graham's a bustling, hard-working second rower. So if Queensland put some good plays on that edge, with Reynolds and a winger he's never played with, I'm worried. I think it's a concern for New South Wales.
I think, as Josh said himself, you go from making, say, 5 tackles a game to 25-odd tackles, and it's the up and back in that defensive line, the shuttles, I think he said himself. So a lot of pressure there. I mean, I think he's a big game player. I think he'll step up, but it's not really about whether he'll rise to the occasion. That's not going to get the better of him. As you said, Brian, it's the technical stuff that they're taking a punt on.
And they'll be hoping that he gets good coverage, from everyone around him. But, Hopoate's not played on the wing, for a long time as well. So that's, that's the double edge to that sword. It's just so that right edge is going to need a whole heap of work. I bet they're up there practicing right now, working hard at trying to build a combination.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no doubt that whoever is on the left-hand edge for Queensland will be seeing a lot of ball. There'll be a lot of traffic run at those two.
I think so.
Well, if they have to bring in Steve Renouf, he'll be certainly looking to...
maybe Choppy Close will come out
he could expose them.
Now, the other interesting one, obviously, to come out of Game 1 was the Brent Tate tackle, Josh Reynolds. We spoke to Josh Reynolds and Greg Bird about what they thought, firstly, of the tackle, and then about the fallout after the game.
The fact that he didn't land in a dangerous... He was put in a dangerous position, hence, given a grade 1 charge, but he didn't land in a dangerous position, and there's no harm done. So... I'm happy that the judiciary saw it that way and allows him to come out and play on the biggest stage.
Oh mate, I'm pretty much targeted every week in club footy, so it'll be nothing new, mate. But if they're going to target me, mate, whatever they throw at me, I'm just going to have to come up with the answer, because I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to let these boys down, and I don't want to be doing that next Wednesday. So if they do, they do, and I'm sure the boys will be there to back me up.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds knows that he will be targeted, but he's that sort of fiery, feisty little character. I think he'll just love that. I think he'll relish in that sort of stuff.
Well, he's not called Grub for nothing, let's face it. As he said, he cops it every week. He's targeted every week. They're playing at home. They'll have the crowd behind them. His mate Greg Bird there, he's back, the enforcer. He might not be anywhere near him on the field, but if anything starts, you watch for Birdie coming from 50 metres away. Apparently not allowed to throw punches anymore, but it must be hard for a guy like Greg Bird to pull back a punch.
Yeah, and again, it's the other thing. It's that Queensland's that siege mentality. They love hanging on to these things. It's worked for them since 1980, and it'll work for them for another 100 years.
Yeah, the game's going to be fiery. I'm not too sure about that incident, but I think the whole thing was played out ridiculously in everywhere except the judiciary room, where I thought they came up, and with Wayne Bennett's post-game comments about it, where I thought he described the whole thing very well. And Reynolds is going to make a lot of those sort of tackles because he's not a big guy, and he does tackle through the middle, as Wayne referred to it. It was just one of those things, and the judiciary handled it perfectly, I thought.
Yeah, a lot of people have said he's lucky to play, but he's playing. Moving on to Queensland, guys. We spoke to Billy Slater this week. He says it's the biggest challenge. He talks about the challenge that the guys are facing. As you've said, I mean, there's 22 men. They don't know what they're doing, but regardless of, I'm sure they do know what they're doing, but it's still a huge challenge for the Queenslanders.
Oh yeah, it's a tough ask. New South Wales played really well in that game one, and we probably weren't up to our standard, but we're playing for Queensland. We've been here, we've done this before. We were in the same position last year, 1-0 down in the series going into the second game. So it's going to be a tough one, but we'll be giving it everything that we've got to hopefully draw the series up and take it to a decider up here at Suncorp.
Yeah, we also spoke to Sam Thaiday this week, said exactly the same thing, just such a challenge for this group that's won 8 in a row. Yeah,
look, they've lifted so many times through the 8 years, but what they haven't had to deal with, I think, is this sort of injury crisis. Thurston's played every game in the whole run. Cameron Smith's barely missed a game. So it is something that, okay, there's a bit of ducks and drakes there, but it's certainly the most unsettled I think they've been, particularly coming into a game in Sydney that they're going to face, the crowd down here. And
yeah, I think there's no doubt that there's some stuff that they've got to cope with at the moment, but they're playing it up to the absolute hilt. They've had somewhere, maybe not realistically the issues that are there now, and those key players that are involved this time with injury or some sort of injury cloud. But we've been in this situation at least a dozen times in recent years where it's oh me, oh my, and New South Wales try to do it and it works in reverse. When Queensland do it seems to work the other way.
Yeah, you mentioned that we've seen it a dozen times. It's probably worked a dozen times for them as well. Again, Daly Cherry Evans, we spoke to him. He's not too confident that he's going to be playing, but the one thing that he did say is what he's learnt from game one, being thrust in there after 10 minutes where he probably wasn't expecting to be there.
Just being better prepared for every situation that is thrown at us. That was a bit of adversity that was thrown our way, and personally, hopefully I'll be able to adapt a lot quicker and learn from that in game two.
Yeah, it certainly will be a much more settled side this time, you would think, with Daly Cherry Evans knowing that from the kickoff, he's the number 7, it's his side.
Did you guys see that stuff after the first game? When I thought, Cherry Evans, I'm not sure if I'm chairman, but I'm nearly chief, flag waver. I'm wrapped in what that guy's done. He's just a fantastic footy player and he cuts all the right image, the whole thing. But he was poor, when he went on. He's been waiting so long for that chance, and he was poor. It was
almost like of course he doesn't expect to be out there that early, but I mean, these guys are professional. You'd expect him to get out there and take over the game.
But Martin, they said in the post-game that they said that he never practiced for a minute at halfback.
Hard to believe.
He was practicing playing lock or hooker or something or other. I just found that, I know they've got lots of things to cover, but wow, you lose your halfback. You'd want to give your rookie at least some time. And now he's injured. Yeah, he's injured, but how much? But does he get a chance to do it again? Is he going to get out there in training and build some combos? Or is he going into it, without anything again.
I think JT as well was down a lot in the first game on his usual input. So when you put those two together as your key playmakers, and New South Wales got a lot out of those two guys they had in the halves, both new players, but stood up to the challenge. So you'd expect Thurston to be a whole lot better. And if Cherry Evans is in there, we've got Ben Hunt. I mean, talk about an amazing rise if he's there Wednesday night.
That's a jump and a half. But I reckon Jonathan Thurston and Cameron Smith at the moment are, they're both absolute champions, and I'm reluctant to offer criticism of them. In fact, it's not a criticism, but it's just the reality. I think they're at that point where they're both busting their backsides to play well. They're trying so hard, both at club and for Queensland, both levels. But the work rate, the attrition, they're just not quite got it all the time like they seem to have. And particularly in the last couple of seasons, I think in Origin footy, they've both just been a bit fragile around the edges. And if New South Wales can put heaps of pressure on them again, I think that we might just get there this time.
Yeah, one of Queensland's greatest strengths, you're saying, could possibly become a weakness for them.
Well, that's probably a little bit further out than I'd like to go, but I guess that's really what it is. It's more that they might not have that ability to win the game back if we're in front. That's what we did last time. In those dying minutes of the game, New South Wales defended brilliantly, but they just couldn't quite come up with those plays that they bloody always do, almost always do.
Yep. Guys, a quick tip. Leno, who do you think by how much?
I think New South Wales will get home in a really tight one. I think for them, as they said, they've been 1-0 up before. It was 1-0 last year, so don't be complacent about it. They won't be. They're at home. I think the crowd will play a huge part in the game. I think 2 points to New South Wales.
2 points to Queensland.
2 points to Queensland. I'm going 4 points to New South Wales. All will be revealed this Wednesday night.